Chilean, I'm going to have to mute you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining our monthly webinar. This month has been Women's Month. Okay, I'm going to have to put Chilean on mute. Okay. So, thank you for joining our monthly webinar. This month has been Women's Month with the International Women's Day celebration on the 8th of March every year. This year, the theme is Choose to Challenge. My name is Morola Kekunlere, and I work with the Federal Ministry of Labour and Employment, the Migrants Resource Center, and we'll be moderating today's session. The Migrant Resource Center is a one-stop shop for all things migration. We offer advice, counseling, skill development for potential and returning migrants. Migration is a fundamental human right. People always move, and so it is important that we address the mode of movement. This is the mandate of the MRC. Before we proceed, we encourage you to get vaccinated and/or maintain physical distancing, use of nose mask, practice proper hygiene, and adhere to other safety guidelines laid down by the NCDC. Chilean, you're welcome. I'm going to mute your mic because you have a lot of background noise. So please, at this junction, I would like to welcome our esteemed panelists. We have one thing in common. We are all women today. Yay, for obvious reasons. It is Women's Month. So I would like to welcome Cyprian Cheptepkeni. I apologize, Cyprian, if I do not pronounce your surname correctly. How did I do?
You fared on well.
Okay, thank you. So Cyprian is a communication for development expert with an interest in working in a diverse humanitarian environment. As an awareness raising officer at the IOM, that's the International Organization for Migration Nigeria, Cyprian takes the lead in formulating projects and activities aimed at promoting safe migration pathways. Okay, so Chilean is back. I'm going to mute your mic because of the noise. There's a lot of noise interference, Chilean. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm going to mute you for now until you have to talk because, or please help me mute yourself from your end. I can't seem to be able to do it from here.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so our second panelist for today, her name is Chilean Azo. She is the lead of Female Returnees Forum Nigeria. It's an advocacy network actively involved in providing mental health and psychosocial support for traumatized females. Okay, so we have another panelist, Ayomide. You're welcome.
Yeah, good.
Oh, my bad. It's good to have you on board. Can you hear me? Ayomide, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. Yes, it's good to
Yeah.
have you here too. So
My pleasure.
I was just introducing all the panelists. So we're talking about Chilean right now. Chilean Azo is the lead female returnee forum for Nigeria. It's an advocacy network actively involved in providing mental health and psychosocial support for traumatized female return migrants through counseling and training sessions. And then the last but not the least, we have Ayomide Olaniyi Abiodun. She is a Nigerian. She migrated to the UK in 2013. And Ayomide has worked as a consultant and a temporary staff of the Nigerian Embassy in the UK. She is currently studying social work at the Kingston University, London. Without further ado, let's jump in. Cyprian, the first question is for you. There has been a rise in the number of women migrants in recent years. What factors are stimulating the migration of women? Cyprian?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Cyprian.
Thank you so much. So, in terms of factors stimulating the migration of women, I'd like to look at the question broadly before narrowing it down to women specifically, because when it comes to issues of migration, it affects both the male and the female gender. And if we
True.
are to look at the different statistics, you'll see that at the moment, in terms of like the percentages, actually we are also seeing like more men. And from the data that we have from 2017, out of the over 20 returned migrants that we've returned, we have 7,216. These are female.
Oh, wow.
But now going into when it comes to the factors tends to cut across because we always have both the push and the pull factors. They're always enticed in terms of better education.
Sure.
They've always, some of them flee maybe because of issues such as conflict, as we all know what's happening in the northern part of the country. Some of them may be furthering their education, just like one of our panelists here, who has gone to the UK, just to further her education. So we have different factors that cut across. Some of them migrate just for the sole purpose of getting employment. And I think for this, I can even use myself as an example. I am a labor migrant from Kenya working here in Nigeria. So
Yay.
we have different factors that cut across that enable people to migrate. That's why I say like it's not necessarily like the female, but even like the male have this kind of both the push and the pull factors that contribute to their migration. Thank you.
Yeah, but Cyprian, we're talking about women in particular. Over the years, the statistics for women has been rising. According to UN statistics, women are migrating more than they used to. Is there, as in, like, are there specific factors that are peculiar to women?
Well, as we all know, this is almost becoming like there are a lot of different changes globally, just like when it comes to migration and other issues. Women are taking leadership roles. Women are becoming more and more aggressive. Gone are the days whereby women, we used to sit at the back and, our roles are basically being home caregivers. So, if you look at and try to put those factors, you can see like women are now taking the front line. It's no longer just an issue of men. And that's part of the things I could say that has even contributed to more women actually like being involved, especially when it comes to like migration, because they're more aggressive. They want to further their education. They want to be able, some women have taken even leadership in their different homes in terms of providing for their different families. So they want a good pay. So yeah, over.
Sure. Thank you, Cyprian. That's a really good one. So, Ayomide, this is directed at you now. Did you decide to migrate based on any of the reasons that Cyprian has mentioned? If not, why did you migrate?
Thank you very much, Moralake, for the opportunity and everyone at large. Yeah, at times, migration comes in form of destiny. We are Africans, and luckily mine is as destiny. I migrated through a spouse visa, but before talking about that, when I sent my biodata, I explained that there are 4 ways of migrating. We have the visiting. You can decide to go to visit and decide to stay there. We have the educational, we have the student one where you just go and study. And we have the spouse, which is applicable to me. And we have the employment. So I'm going to talk basically on 2. that are applicable to me, the employment and the spouse. So my husband was the first one to come to UK through employment. He got a job through diplomatic means. So when he came
Okay.
here, he settled down and I joined him after. So I'll
All right.
probably say mine was destiny and true spouse.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to go back to you. Chilean is still having issues connecting. So, Cyprian, women are exposed to many risks during migration, especially when they travel irregularly. Can you tell us some of these risks, what they are?
Well, over the years, we've noted, like, especially being a migration agency, women are more vulnerable. And part of the risk that our women face when they are migrating, especially those for maybe one or two reasons they've migrated irregularly, is we see some of the risks that they are involved is issues such as sexual exploitation, because at times during their journey, the people maybe around them, we have like the bloggers will take advantage of them and sexually exploit them. So that is one of the risks. And the other risk is, of course, them being taken, through involuntary domestic servitude, whereby they have to, work in an adverse environment. They're not getting paid, and some even have faced challenges such as being kidnapped. Because as we all know, especially when it comes to issues of migration, uh, some have been lured in. They were given empty promises, but lo and behold, by the time they reach their final destination, quote unquote, it turns out something else. And we even see some actually being trafficked. And when you are trafficked, of course, you'll some endures issues such as what I've mentioned, for instance, sexual exploitation, involuntary, domestic servitude.
Yes.
So I think those are listed as the key major risks. But of course, there are many risks associated when it comes to like traveling irregularly.
True.
So, over.
Okay, thank you so much. Before we proceed, we have a few people that have joined us. If you have, I'm addressing the people on Facebook and on YouTube. If you have questions or comments, please you can join us. You can chip in your opinion on this. You can also follow our social media handles. You can follow us on Instagram at MRC_Lagos and on IG also at Nelex Lagos on Facebook. So I'm going to be asking, Chilean is not here. I should ask her the next question because it's relating to what Cyprian was talking about. Okay, let me see if I can add her now. Okay, so Chilean, can you hear me? Chilean, can you hear me? Okay, I think she's still struggling with. Please tell us, did you experience, tell us about your migration experience. Did you have any challenges as a woman when you migrated?
Not really. I didn't really experience anything negative. The only one I could say was when I was about boarding, because I was already pregnant and the
Okay.
airline wanted to be safe. They wouldn't want me to have my baby on board. So I had to go through a lot of stress going to the hospital in the airport, trying to do pregnancy, everything to know how many months I am to be able to be sure that I'm fit to
Okay.
fly.
Oh,
But with my visa and everything, it was smooth because, like I said, I went through spouse visa,
okay.
so it was actually smooth.
Oh wow, that's really good to know. Chilean, do we have you here? Chilean, are you here? Okay. Let me still continue with Ayomi.
That's fine, please.
They have different values, different culture. Did you experience culture shock when you traveled abroad? As in, what was the biggest culture shock for you? That I'm surprised, that kind of thing. What did you?
Definitely. That we have a lot of that. But the two main one is language barrier and orientation. What do I mean by orientation? Our orientation as African is quite different from the United Kingdom. For example, my children, they call their teachers by name, which is not even possible back home.
Yes,
Even
true.
myself, I call my lecturers, I call them by name. Imagine one of my lecturers is 75 years old, and I call him by name.
Wow.
So I still feel the fact that how will I be calling this man name? I can't try it back home, you understand? So that's
Mm-hmm.
that's what I meant by cultural orientation. So it's different here. Then language as well. You know, sometimes the way we speak back home is quite different from here. Even I still go through that in the house almost every day with my children. Like there was a recent one, there was a pronunciation I made, and my son was like, "Mommy, what are you saying?" I was like, "This is what I'm saying." He said, "No, mommy, stop it. It's not like that. It's this."
Oh,
At times,
wow.
there was a day I told him, "Go and get your singlet." It was like, "Mommy, what's a singlet?"
What
I meant the one you wear under. It was like, "Mommy, no, it's vest."
Interesting.
So another one is the one I just came. I went to the store. I was like, "I need tin tomatoes." The store man was like, "Tin tomatoes? What's tin tomatoes?"
What is that?
He doesn't know what tin tomatoes is. I started looking. So when I saw it, I showed him. It was like, "Excuse me, that's puree." I'm like, "Hey, Jesus." So that's tomato puree. So a lot of things like that. Then another one, okay, I had this one was even a physical one with my in-law. We were talking, and I'm like, but it doesn't make sense. You need to see how angry my in-law was. She said, "Do you mean I don't have brain? Do you mean I'm senseless?"
Wow.
And I need to explain to her that, "Auntie, when we say it doesn't make sense, it's not an insult, it's an explanation that it is not right." But ordinarily, I should
Okay.
have said it is not right. But I said it doesn't make sense. And my child says that to me all the time. So there is a lot of language barrier. Then
Oh,
imagine you seeing someone and saying,
okay.
"Are you okay?" Normally, it's a greeting here. "Are you okay?" And the person will be like, "Yes, I'm all right. Thank you." But if I tell an ordinary Nigerian person, "Are you okay?" Be like, "Do I look sick? Did I tell you I am sick?"
Are you
You
mad?
understand? Yeah. So
Yeah.
those two
Mm-hmm.
things, cultural orientation and language, is a big challenge.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you so much for that. Like that was like a comic relief for all of us here. Chilean,
yeah,
are
I
you
know.
here now? Chilean. Hey, Chilean, we need to be able to talk to you. I hope your network is Cyprian. This is for you. Migration has been seen to be a tool that can empower independent income, etc. But on the other hand, women are often engaged in low skill, unregulated, and informal sector work, which makes them vulnerable. How can stakeholders, as state and non-state actors, facilitate the gender dimension into migration policy making? That was a long question, but I hope you got it. You're on mute, correct? Okay, okay.
Is that for me?
No, no, no. Sorry, I was just
No,
saying, could
that's
you
for
take it
stupid.
again? Sorry.
Okay, yeah, let me take that again. We've seen migration, especially in Nigeria. Migration is a tool that has been seen to be one to empower women, especially by giving them access to employment, independence, incomes, etc. But on the other hand, women are often engaged in low skill, unregulated, or informal sector work, which makes them vulnerable. So how can stakeholders, as state and non-state actors, factor the gender dimension into migration policy making? It's quite the question.
No. Thank you so much for the question. So, in terms of ensuring that both the state and non-state actors are able to integrate, like considering the vulnerability of the women, as I
Yeah.
had mentioned, that when it comes to issues of migration, we all need each other. We all hands needs to be on deck. So meaning both the state and non-state actors, we need to inculcate the aspect of the gender lens into our programming. Even just
Okay.
like now, considering the current pandemic that is happening, women should be involved, should be put on the table when it comes to even like, decision making at the moment. The issues of vaccination is ongoing. We need to hear their voices. And this can only be done when we inculcate the aspect of, having women into our several programming, so that it's not just like, maybe when we need like low skill labor, that is when we involve women. No, this is something that we should all try to promote as key stakeholders from different areas, whereby right from the beginning, we ensure that women are given a seat on the table. And by doing so, we are actually even encouraging the young ones, so that at least as they grow, even like even promoting like our young boys, so that they'll end up growing like knowing like, oh, even if she or if she is a lady, she deserves respect, she deserves
Sure.
that authority. So there is the aspect of the role of the different stakeholders, but even in our own families, we have to play a key role by ensuring our mummies, our aunties, I know being in an African setup, well, our cultures are not always that different, but at times, like in our African setup, it's like, yeah, the man has to call the final say, you know.
So sure.
But you see, if this is something we can already start having that conversation, even in our own smaller family units, it will even be more easier now when it comes to the bigger picture, when it comes to like policy formulation, working with the different cadres, both the religious, the traditional leaders, even like our different government, in terms of formulating these policies, and actually not just formulating, but also during the implementation process, because it's one thing to formulate, but again, how can it be implemented? Meaning we have to ensure that we have all the women on the, we have women as part of the decision makers, we have women taking part in different programming, as this will also contribute to sustainability of the different policies, or even the sustainability of the different programs. Over.
Sure. Okay, Chilean is here again. Let me try again. We really need to talk to Chilean. She has an angle that we have not explored at all in our conversation. That's the irregular migration angle. Chilean, are you here? Can you hear me? Okay, I think we can talk now. Okay, so Chilean, in your experience with returned female migrants, what specific risks did they experience while embarking on their journeys?
Okay, thank you so much. I want to first apologize for the network issues.
Oh, wow. Chilean, the network is really, really sketchy. I hope we can get this cleared up before we finish this program. So, Ayomide, this one is for you. Let me unmute you. Ayomide, what was your experience as a female migrant during the COVID-19 pandemic?
Um,
You have to sigh. Okay.
yeah, the major problem we had here with the illegal immigrants is the fact that they couldn't go to the hospital.
No, Ayomide, please, a minute there. I need to correct something. We do not refer to anybody as illegal immigrants. They are irregular migrants or irregular immigrants. Okay.
Okay. So the main problem we had here with irregular immigrants was the fact that they couldn't go to the hospital. So we lost a lot of them.
Oh,
So
wow.
by the time statistics and the local authority started knowing, they had to issue a statement that no matter what your status is, you should please
Okay.
go to the hospital once you know you have COVID or any health related issue. And as it is, I think there is a circular that should be out giving most of them an opportunity to health care, what's it called? Healthcare treatment. Let me put it that
Facilities.
way. Yeah,
All right.
facilities.
Yeah. So, Ayomide, can you tell us your personal experience as somebody that okay, you relocated to another country during the COVID-19 pandemic? Was there anything? It doesn't have to be a bad experience, maybe a good one. What was your experience of the COVID-19 pandemic at its peak?
Yeah, well, to be fair, mine is actually a positive one. So I'm going to give you three instances. The first one, I had my admission when the pandemic started. So, and
Yeah.
as a mother of four, you could imagine what childcare costs would have been. But
Mm,
fortunately, lectures were in the house. So they will be in the house with me. I'll be going through my lecture. So one, it's positive for me. Then secondly, I had more time to bond with the family.
okay, that's good
Thirdly,
too.
the government were actually providing a lot for children.
Oh,
You understand? They were giving out vouchers, they were giving out food and all that. Then I also I had more sense of responsibility in the sense that at that period I became a teacher because
oh,
they were sending the children's homework
assignments.
to us. So I became a teacher to the three of them that were in school. I became a doctor because he couldn't go to the hospital because of, you understand. So I had more sense of responsibility.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much for that, Ayomide.
Yeah,
Cyprian,
you're
back
welcome.
to you. This one's for you. We're still talking about the pandemic. The global COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown created a whole new set of challenges in every sector. How did the pandemic impact migration generally and female migration in particular?
Uh, Thank you for the question. Maybe just to start off is we all know the challenges that this pandemic has brought to everybody, especially globally. The economy being at recess, and considering this was not something that we all expected. There were lockdowns here and there, and of course, with the aspect of lockdowns, different countries closing their borders as part of the mitigation measures, you know, in preventing the spread of the virus. So, of course, there was a huge impact when it comes to mobility because most of the migrants could not move from one place to the other because where do you go? There is no vehicle. But then, of course, we have to also take into consideration like the economy was really impacted because, when it comes to issues of migration, what we always say is we tend to mostly look at the angle of, the risk and what have you. But you see, they actually benefit when it comes to migration because, you know, when new skills are being brought, for instance, we have like doctors working all over, not necessarily, the origins of that country. But you see, now with the pandemic, some of these things could not be accessible. Of course, I know
Yeah.
now we have the aspect of like the online where we are trying to mitigate by trying to do most of these things virtually, and but you see, we can't negate the aspect of like you know, we now have like our economy have to like recover and what have you. But now going specifically to the women in terms of like the impact of all this, we note that most of these women were exposed to things such as, you know, gender-based violence, because even there's no place maybe where they can, you know, report, because they're all maybe concentrated in a house. Sexual exploitation, some of the women were exposed to this, such as sexual exploitation during this lockdown period. So, and of course, other than that, considering like women are also providers in their various homes, some of them lost jobs. And considering they lost job, meaning they lost a source of earning. And this rendered to them, of course, now exposing them to some of these issues that I've highlighted, like, you know, they become a prey. Somebody will want to take advantage of them, maybe so that I can be able to give them, you know, some food. They can be able to get, and you see, for some of these women, they might not actually even raise the voice about this, but these are the realities that are happening behind the, if I can say, the camera lens, you know, these are some
Yeah.
of the things they are experiencing. And now our sole responsibility as key stakeholders to see how can we be able to reach out to these women, how can we be able to give a voice to these women who've been affected? How can we help them in cushioning their business so that they can continue providing for their different families and continue even looking after their children? So that's why it calls for you, it calls for me, it calls for all of us to, you know, put together our different resources in ensuring, like, okay, for those maybe who are exposed to issues such as GBV, gender-based violence, you know, they can be able to get the necessary help, and even like the perpetrators can be apprehended. That's why they'll rely on me, they'll rely on you to just air their voices and to help them get the necessary help. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Cyprian. So I'm going to just summarize everything Cyprian said in one sentence that I heard from the great writer Chimamanda Adichie. We should all be feminists. I mean, if we're all feminists, we'll be able to discuss these things more, you know, to the grassroots. We'll be able to deal with issues as regarding women as they are coming up, and we'll be able to educate the coming generation so that they can do even better than what we've done so far. It is so challenging, sad that we cannot get Chilean on this conversation because she has questions to answer here. But I think we should still discuss some of her questions. Cyprian, you can help us with this because, I mean, you deal with these issues all the time. We're talking about returnees, some of the return migrants, people that went out of Nigeria through irregular means. So, what do you think are the specific risks that COVID-19 has brought about for female irregular migrants?
Uh, Thank you so much. So, in terms of the risks that some of the returned migrants have experienced, is so, of course, as I had mentioned just a few minutes ago, that we cannot underscore the adverse effects of the pandemic. We've had
Yes.
issues of economy being the challenge, considering like most of them, we have most people who've lost their jobs. But when it comes to returned migrants, they are more vulnerable. For those who are already in their integration process, having maybe their shop somewhere, and considering the lockdown, and even we had incidents whereby some of them reported their shops being looted, you know, so they lost a sense their livelihood. And then, of course, there is one big issue that most of them were exposed, which is misinformation. And I know one of the panelists had highlighted, Ayomide, hope I pronounce your name well, that, you know, them getting scared in terms of like, okay, if I'm experiencing these symptoms, where do I get, can I go to the hospital and what have you? But you see, there were a lot of, which is still there are a lot of misinformation passing across here and there. And considering we are in a new era where most of the things are done on social media, so most of them, getting some misinformation through their WhatsApp, through their peers, this was a risk to most of them because they could not even go out there, just to like maybe even get tested, or even if it's just a basic, disease, there were already that stigmatization, because we need to understand that at times when most of these return migrants come, there are already some stigmatization that they are facing in their respective communities, because some of them are being perceived like, okay, they went abroad, but they came back, there's nothing. So meaning they're already exposed to things such as stigmatization. Now, you can imagine now with now the COVID and what have you. So just to summarize, like some of these risks, I'll say, of course, there's the aspect of the stigmatization. There's the aspect of them losing their sole livelihood. And then, of course, the aspect of misinformation, or what I'll say like fake news. But then again, as I had mentioned, this calls for you, myself, all of us to see how can we best be able to help them. And maybe from what I can say internally as an organization, what we've been able to do is trying to reach out to them, trying to ensure we are able to provide them with the accurate information. Where can they get health services? Where can they be able to even get services such as mental health and psychosocial support? We have a team of trained counselors, but then again, we also work with different government agencies. As a UN entity, we don't work alone. We work with different government entities, including the civil servants of civil society organization. So we refer them, for those who maybe have considering what the pandemic has brought about, and they are having maybe stress factors, we also refer them to these experts. And then, of course, for those maybe their businesses have been affected as much as possible, well, we are donor funded, we are projectized, but we've also tried our level best to see how can we support their businesses maybe to start again, or just to like cushion them. And this we've been doing, of course. This I don't will have one time a separate forum when it comes to like providing reintegration assistance to returned migrants. We use what we call like a whole approach, whereby we have the community members being involved, we have the government agencies being involved, and we as an organization. And these are some of the key strategies that we've been able to put across to ensure that at least in as much as this has happened, they can still, benefit, and they can still continue with their normal life. Thank you.
You are muted.
I forgot to unmute myself. There was noise in my background. That was why I put myself on mute for a bit. I apologize. Oh yeah. So Ayomide, some countries provided relief packages and cash benefits to their citizens and migrants to ease the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic. Were migrants eligible in your country of residence? Okay, sorry, let me unmute you. Ayomide, you need to unmute yourself, please.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Yes, migrants were eligible. Yeah.
Okay, so what were migrants eligible to? What were the things that were accessible to migrants that was special?
Yeah. Each country has their rules and regulations. So it depends on the one that
True.
it depends on the one that suits you. For example, I registered as a self-employed, and during the COVID pandemic, I didn't make any income. So I was eligible to get money, 80% of my income from the government. So, like I said, each
Oh,
country
nice.
has their regulations. So, but imagine if I hadn't registered my business, because we have some people who didn't register their business. So, before I continue, one thing I've learned through this pandemic is that you have to do things right. Anything you are doing, do it right. So imagine some migrants who didn't register their business and they were affected. there is no way the government can have any information about them, and there is no way government can give them any relief. However, if you have a child in United Kingdom, you are eligible to have relief, especially when it comes to food. They might not give you money, but they'll definitely give you food and they'll give you voucher, regardless your immigration status.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Ayomide. It's been
You're
very
welcome.
delightful talking to you ladies. Chilean, I don't know if you can hear us. I mean, we're still trying to add Chilean to the mix again and again. Chilean, can you hear us? Chilean. Okay, you're even on mute. Please, can you unmute yourself? Please unmute your mic if you can hear us. But just in case you can't hear us, we'll move on. Cyprian, this one is for you. What are the red flags female migrants should watch out for before or during their labor migration journey? Red flags.
Thank you so much for the question. So, if they are planning their migration journey, there are things that uh, they need to watch out. And one of the things we always advise most of the potential migrants to be on the lookout is they need to, at times when you get, for instance, if it's a work opportunity, an employment opportunity, if it's a university or an education opportunity, you need to ensure you verify those information. And I'm happy to note that with the partnership with the Migrant Resource Centers through the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment, we have the Migrant Resource Center, which has always been our reference point whenever we're doing this different sensitization. Like if you've received maybe a promise of an employment, don't be too happy about it. Ensure you verify, because some of these opportunities come in a juicy manner. So the things they need to look at is, of course, is this promise too sweet to be true? Are the documents that I'm being requested for, are they really valid? Because, at times somebody will be like, I'm able to facilitate your journey to Europe in 3 days via road. Already that is a red flag to you that you need to, ask yourself. Somebody is telling you, okay, I can facilitate your trip to Italy.
Okay, Cyprian, you were breaking up in the middle while you were speaking. Hi, Cyprian. I'm sorry I'm interrupting you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, you were breaking up. So I wanted you to read some of the things that you said earlier, like so everybody can catch some of them. Yes, please. Like you can talk now, but you were breaking up in the middle. So I want you to reiterate.
Okay, I'll take that again. So what I was mentioning is when it comes to the red flags, we ought to look at things such as the kind of offers that we are being given. Because at times we are getting the promises of, okay, I'm going to take you to Europe within 3 days via road and you'll be there. These are some of the this is already like a red flag to you. And as I had mentioned, as an agency, we work closely with the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment through the Migrant Resource Center, whereby this has always been our reference point. Whenever we do sensitization in terms of safe migration pathways, we refer most of the potential migrants to check with MRCs whenever somebody has given them an offer, maybe of employment. Try to verify this information. Whenever you get, as I mentioned, like, somebody, you're being promised, okay, I'm able to take you to Italy in 3 days via road, that's already a red flag that you need to be on the lookout. Or maybe, okay, we're going to facilitate your journey and you don't have an international passport. We all know that for you to travel abroad unless within the ECOWAS. But even within the ECOWAS, you need to have the ID that shows you are part of the ECOWAS member state. So, but you see, if somebody is just telling you, okay, pack your bags, and then of course there's the aspect of oath taking. I know, like at times, some of women, even men, have been taken through this journey, like, okay, you need these blessings and what have you. So they end up, being taken in through some cultural practices already. That should be one of the red signs that one needs to already know about, that, okay, is this really something, that is true? And then, of course, we've received aspects such as, okay, I need to make this payment. And by making this payment, I'm able to travel through the desert. And, lo and behold, I'm in Germany. So they need to watch out for all these false promises that are being enticed by maybe their peers, because and especially now with the current age of social media, you'll always see maybe somebody's posting a nice vehicle in their social media pages, and they're like, see, within 2 weeks, I was able to to get all this. And I think one of our panelists can even help us shed more light on this, considering she's lived abroad, was able to migrate. I just arrived in the UK, and by tomorrow, I've already bought a car. Those are some of the red flags, because I know, like, especially the youth, these are some of the things that they're fallen prey into by being being recruited through social media, just by being enticed by maybe what they are able to see. Yet in reality, the journey is rough. This is not the reality in terms of like the information. Over.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Cyprian. Oh. Okay. Yeah. So, thank you very much for that. It was very enlightening. You're talking about oath taking. I saw a video at some point on one of the social media platforms where men and women were lined up stark naked. They were taking their baths and chanting something, and it's crazy. I mean, people are desperate. They'll do anything to be able to travel abroad. And people, you need to know that these things, they don't help. It just entrap you and send you into some form of slavery or the other. So everybody has to be really, really careful. Yes, Ayomide, okay, before I ask you that question, let me ask you what Cyprian was talking about. How easy is it to make money abroad? I mean, some people say that money is on the floor. When you just go abroad, you just be packing money from the floor. How true is this? Please, you need to
Yeah,
unmute yourself.
thank you very much for the question. Yes, abroad is easy. Why? Because you pay for your service and you get your service. Do you understand what I'm saying? You pay
Yes.
for electricity, you pay £150 for electricity for a month, you get it. You pay £30 for water a month, you get it. You understand what I'm saying? So that
Yes.
makes abroad much more different. In terms of making money on the floor, there is nowhere you make money on the floor. The only opportunity here is that you can work as you like if you have the strength and the power. However, those money goes towards your bill. You understand what I'm saying? So, if you want to work 60 hours, if you want to work 70 hours, you have the opportunity. But remember that it boils down to your health. Yeah, you'll be making the money. There was a case of a Ghanaian man who was working 3 jobs. He does Monday to Thursday, then Thursday to Friday. He does security on Sunday, and he didn't put the money in the bank. I believe he's an irregular immigrant. He had a plan to send the money home. Unfortunately, during the COVID issue, he died. and they didn't
Oh,
know
wow.
until when the police got there. On getting to his house, they got 76,000 pounds. He definitely didn't get it on the floor. He worked for it, but was he able to spend the money?
Mm.
So this issue of getting money abroad is no. You work for your money, and whatever you pay for, you get. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Also, I need to ask you this. What advice would you give to women in Nigeria planning to migrate for better opportunities?
Yes, the advice I would give to them is to make sure that if they are traveling or immigrating, they should make sure it's legal. They should make sure they go through a legal process, a legal procedure, the right path. According to what Cyprian has said, there are a lot of red flags everywhere. They shouldn't overlook the red flag. They should do it the right way.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for that,
My pleasure.
Ayomide. Thank you so much, Cyprian. It would have been perfect if we were able to get Chilean at any point, but she kept trying to join us again and again, but network has just made it really impossible for her. Okay, so please send in your views, your comments, our Facebook page. Even after this session is over, you can still send in your questions if you have any. You can use the hashtags MRC Lagos and choose to challenge. That's the theme for the Women Month. March is the International Women's Month. Okay, so we have come to the end of the webinar, but before we go, I would like to ask if you have parting words for us. Cyprian?
Thank you so much for first organizing this. In terms of my parting shot is what I like to say is migration is a right. We can only do it the right way. And the right way is ensuring we have proper documentation. We follow the different guidelines advised by the different authorities. We have the Nigerian Immigration Services where you can get your valid passport. So for us, what we can say is migration is a right, do it right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Cyprian. Ayomide, your parting shot.
Yeah, before I proceed, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to participate in the program.
Welcome.
It's really interesting. It's a pleasure. My parting words will be: what doing at all is what doing well. So no matter what you want to do it right, and
Okay.
don't be in a hurry. Don't be too desperate. I know a lot of people wish to travel, but they shouldn't be too desperate, because by being desperate they fall into the wrong hands, and at the end of the day they will be scammed and all that. So they should do it rightly and at the right time. Thank you.
Okay. The MRC would like to thank the International Organization for Migration and all our panelists, as well as everyone that tuned in to join us. We would like you to stay informed about migration, labor, and trafficking issues. Please follow us on our social media pages. We have the MRC underscore Lagos. As for IG, we have at Nelex Lagos on Facebook. We have Lagos MRC on Twitter, and we have Nelex /MRC Lagos on YouTube. Thank you so much for participating. Catch you sometime next month. Bye, Cyprian. Bye, Ayomide. It was very
Thank
nice to
you.
see you again.
Same here.
Bye.
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 Yes,
Have a nice afternoon.
you too.